This story comes to us from the denverpost.com. A professional photographer nearly lost his finger when police officers shot him with less lethal projectile while he was documenting 2020 racial justice protests in downtown Denver. Trevor Hughes sued Denver Police Chief Paul Pazin and the cities of Denver and Aurora, alleging a police officer working for one of the two cities used excessive force against him even though he was acting peacefully.
Another lawsuit has been filed against the city of Denver over the police department's response to the George Floyd protests last summer. Trevor Hughes says his finger was broken by a less than lethal round while he was photographing last year's demonstrations. The lawsuit claims police were aiming at his camera. Hughes is also suing the city of Aurora, which is one of the dozen agencies to provide Denver police with backup. Both agencies declined to comment.
Hughes' attorney, Andy McNulty, said, "It's time and time again with the Denver Police Department and these protests and people being shot while they're holding their hands up. There has to be some accountability at some point." The lawsuit is the latest filed against Denver and Aurora, alleging the city's officers injured peaceful protesters and violated demonstrators' civil rights. Pazin promised reform after the city's police watchdog found officers used inappropriate force against protesters, though only 2 of the hundreds of Denver police officers who responded to the protests have been disciplined for using excessive force on protesters. At about 8:30 p.m., Hughes was photographing a group of protesters as they marched down Colfax Avenue near Washington Street when someone threw an incendiary device. According to the lawsuit, the police threw flashbangs, deployed tear gas, and then fired a less lethal projectile at the crowd. Hughes moved to a sidewalk away from the main group of protesters and took pictures, including one of the protesters who had been injured. While Hughes had his camera to his face to photograph, an unidentified police officer shot at his face with a projectile, according to the lawsuit. The projectile shattered the camera Hughes was holding to his eye and ripped through his right ring finger, snapping the bone and nearly severing it from his hand. Doctors at a local hospital reattached Hughes' finger, but he never recovered full use of it, and he since had to learn to use his cameras with his left hand. McNulty and Hughes filed a complaint to the city of Denver in the summer of 2020, but never received a response. The lawsuit states the officer who shot Hughes with the projectile violated the Denver Police Department's rules on how less lethal projectiles can be used. Shooting a less lethal projectile at someone's head is an act of deadly force, like shooting someone with a gun, the policy states. The rules also say officers should only shoot less lethal projectiles at people who are threatening to injure someone and have the capability to do so in the immediate future. A spokeswoman for Denver's city attorney's office said the office declined to comment on the lawsuit, and a spokesman for Aurora said the city had not yet reviewed the lawsuit and that it would be inappropriate to comment on pending litigation. If he had not had that camera up there, just think. He would have lost his eye. Or worse, he'd have been killed. The camera saved him. And his right ring finger, right hand, that's here. So he's holding it like this, crash into his camera. You know, some jackass cop was like, "Watch this, I'm going to get this idiot recording us." You know that. Come on. And now they're going to pay. Well, the taxpayers are going to pay. The cops are just going to continue doing what they do and go, they didn't know it was me. Taxpayers, pay. Make it rain. While the cop that did it continues to violate people's civil rights. Welcome to America.